You're not stuck in this cycle forever. But if your current story sounds something like, well, at least I know what this pain feels like, then you might be repeating a pattern that's ready to be broken. Because here's the thing, lean in. Your brain is not punishing you by keeping you in the cycle. It's trying to protect you. And that protection is no longer serving you at the level that you need. Hi, I'm Gabby Roberts, and welcome back to the Grow with Gabby podcast. Today's episode is why you keep going back to what hurts you. We're going to talk about the familiar hell versus the uncomfortable heaven. So this is for you if you are sitting there going, why do I keep ending up in these situations time and time again, just with a different face each time? If you're sitting there going, I'm so tired of choosing what I know because that's all I've known versus what's healthy. If you're sitting there going, okay, hold on, I'm ready to stop repeating whatever cycle I have going on here and truly create something beautiful, then this is for you. Hit subscribe, hit follow, don't miss another one. We're going to get into it today. Let's break the cycle together. Okay. Part 1. The comfort of the known. This is something that so many of us are afraid of stepping out of, because when there's things that we don't know what's going to happen, our brain tends to freak out. And I want you to talk, we'll get into the unknown, but the known, for instance, is here because it's familiar. Obviously, you are going to feel more comfortable with what you know versus what you don't know. I hear all the time from clients and people I'm associated with, like, oh, I don't know how to do it. Or I'm like, okay, so are you bad at it? They're like, well, no, I just don't know how. And I'm like, you just said it. You're not even bad at this thing. You just don't know how to do it. And you'd rather do what's comfortable. That's the way that our bodies are wired. That's the way that your brain is wired. So hear me out. You don't stay because you don't know better. You stay because the pain is predictable. And I know you're like, why would I do that? Truly, I'll give you an example. You choose that chaos because it's familiar. That familiarity is something you can rely on. It's predictable. So let's say you and your partner get in the same fight about the same shit. And it's gonna go the same way. You're gonna fight, you're gonna argue, one of you is gonna get dismissive, one of you is gonna get defensive, one's gonna walk away, you may go to bed crying, you wake up the next day, you fix it, repeat, all over and over and over again, right? Ideally, that's not a great situation, but you know what's going to happen. Do you know what's going to happen if you completely leave that relationship and go start over with somebody new? No. So your brain, your body goes, hold on, I'm going to stay with what I know. And that unknown, even if it's better, is terrifying. And even if that known is not good for you, it's like, I'm just going to stay here in my quote unquote comfort zone. So seriously, if you've ever left a toxic relationship and was like, why did I stay for so long? Well, just ask yourself, what was I modeled growing up? What relationships were shown to me? Did they stay because they felt loved and seen and heard and validated and respected? Or did they stay because they didn't know what life would be outside of that relationship? That's the way my mother did things. She stayed for 22 years of neglect and emotional abuse and physical abuse and manipulation and gaslighting because that's all she knew. She was with him from, I think, 19 or 20 for her whole life, for her whole marriage. She doesn't even go back to her own maiden name because she's always been that surname with my dad and what she knew. So again, these times that you're sitting here observing what's going on in the relationship, please don't judge yourself, because the brain does, and the nervous system loves what it knows, loves predictability, loves the familiarity, okay? So that's just simply your nervous system on autopilot. There's nothing wrong with you. So please, just before we go into more of some of these honest truths here, that you know that it's nothing that you're doing wrong. You're not broken, you're conditioned. Okay, so if your nervous system is on autopilot all the time and it's flying you straight into the storm, you're going to go into that storm because it knows where it's going and it's going that way. So it's going to take a lot of effort to be like, no, and to pull yourself from that to try to figure out something else that maybe works better for you. This doesn't always mean leaving a situation completely, but this could mean making some changes. This could also be familiar for your business. This could be familiar with friendships. It's like, oh yeah, we just have that one thing that we just don't talk about because it always ends up the same exact way. We still might end up talking about it because our nervous system is like, oop, oop, but we have to pause and be like, hold on. We're not flying into the storm because truly, you're not chasing the pain. You don't want to have those feelings, but you are choosing this illusion of control. And that's the real trap. Is you're like, I know how it's going to go. I can control it. I can fix it. I can step out of it whenever I want, which really your nervous system is always taking notes. It's going to be like, noted. Okay. And it's going to keep going back. So this isn't always the same thing with relationships. This can be with This isn't always the same with relationships or being in a toxic relationship. This can be in a business. This can be being seen and heard and validated in any relationship at all, your friendships, your business partnerships, all of those things, because you do what you know. For instance, if you know that you want to quit drinking, but you don't have any other coping skills, and then that thing comes along that upsets your nervous system and triggers you deeply, what are you going to go to? You're going to go grab that glass of wine or that shot of vodka or whatever you drink. Why? Because it's what you know. Is that necessarily good for you? Absolutely not. I mean, everything in moderation, do you? But most of the time, if you're doing that for all of your triggers and all of your coping mechanisms, that it's not healthy. Do you know it's not healthy? Yes. Do you do it anyway? Yes. Because you're broken? No. It's because you felt like you didn't have the tools that you needed to stop doing that thing, or you didn't know that there was another option, or you didn't know that it was bad for you, or you just weren't aware. So you just have to be paying attention, always observing without judgment of, what do I need? Do you know it's bad for you? Yes. Do you continue to drink? Yes. Is it because you're broken? No. It may just be that you don't have any other tools, or you're not quite sure what you need, or have another coping mechanism. You could know what you need. I know that I need a bit of breath work. I know I need to shake it out. I know I need to talk to a friend. I know I need a hug right now. I know I need to lay down on my massage mat and just be. I know I need to, go for a walk or work out in the gym. That feels more of a foreign thing to do in that moment because the nervous system is going to automatically go back to what it knows. Again, is it healthy? No. But you know that you need to do it. But you still choose that other thing anyway, and it probably drives you crazy. So just know that this is not your fault. This is just that sense of control that you're trying to tell yourself that you've got it. So if you notice the way that you get sucked back into that nervous system familiar hell, if you will, then acknowledge it, like truly. Because then we're going to lean into part 2 here, which is the way that your brain betrays you. And that's going to upset some people. So take this with a grain of salt, but it's not your brain's job to make you happy. I made an episode on this a few weeks ago about how you're not supposed to be happy all the time. And people were like, what? That's everyone's goal, to be like happy and healthy and wealthy. No. Focus on being balanced. Because truly, your brain's job is not to be happy all the time. Your brain's job is to keep you alive. And to your brain, alive means familiar. Alive means I'm doing the same thing as I did yesterday. We are all very habitual creatures. We don't even realize some of the things we're doing are habits. Sometimes it's not even physical habits. Sometimes it's thought patterns that can also lead you into the familiar hell. That trigger that got you emotionally, and now you're doing the things that you used to do to cope in the way that you used to know things, even though it's been years and you know better. So its job, like it's the true science here, is that your amygdala, your brain's fire alarm system, lights up for the familiar threats, not to new ones. So you see what we're figuring out here is that familiar is your nervous system and your brain's bestie, even though that thing might not be helpful for you. So that's why when you leave that familiar hell, it can feel like you're jumping off a cliff with no parachute, even when you're actually jumping into a safety net. And that's why you have to kind of stay in it and push yourself past that uncomfortableness, because through that discomfort is where you're going to grow. Once you realize you hit that net, your nervous system goes, oh, and it's always taking notes. It's always going, okay, how can I learn and how can I grow and how can I improve? And oh, we didn't die. That wasn't death. That wasn't, you know, truly death. And I know it sounds dramatic, but when we do new things, it's unfamiliar. It's like, ooh, I don't know that. What if you die? Because again, your brain is keeping you alive. That's all it cares about. Alive, alive, alive. New equals death. And I know, again, that sounds dramatic, but you got to work with the science of your brain. Once you land into that safety net, your body, your mind, you show it, hey, look what we just did. You prove to yourself that you can do it. And then it's going to learn through those feedback loops that, oh, okay, I can do it. Where else can I go and implement some of this courage and this motivation and this inspiration that I'm feeling, this confidence, which all comes after. But does your brain tell you that in the moment when you're sitting there in the familiar hell? Of course not. For example, this morning I had this very, very moment. I'm so glad I'm bringing this up on the podcast and being vulnerable on it, because I get to not only speak from experience, but from it happening today. You know, I can speak on my panic attacks and I can remember them like it was yesterday. But I'm honored to say I haven't had one in 6 months. They used to be daily, but now they have been spaced out in between. And same thing for my familiar hells. Most of the time, I'm hanging out in my uncomfortable heaven. I'm very comfortable being uncomfortable because I know that's where I grow. But some days when the triggers hit really hard and really fast like they do, it gets a little difficult. It gets very difficult, if I'm being honest. And I think it's always difficult, but it's even more difficult on the days that you're really triggered or didn't get enough sleep. Like I slept okay last night, but I had really awful dreams. Dreams that I lost a very, very loved one to me. And I woke up feeling so scared and like I was in that moment. And I texted this person and I was like, are you okay? And they were fine and it was okay. But I had to tell my brain, we need to calm down. Ideally, that's what I should have done, but I didn't. I didn't say that at all. I jumped right onto my phone. I started scrolling on Instagram. I started working just because I knew that if I distract myself with this work, even though I know that I need breath work right now and silence and softness and compassion and kindness, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to doom scroll. So it's like, you know what you need in that moment. Sometimes, it's not always, but you do it, you choose not to, because your body's going, yeah, but like, look how good the couch looks. And like, we'll just do this for a few minutes and we'll feel okay. Right? No, 2 hours went by and I realized not only do I not actually feel that much better, like laying on the couch was nice, but the actual stimulation of the reels and me thinking about the content that I was going to make and in my responding to all of the DMs I had, I started to get overwhelmed. Why? Because even though I was doing something I loved, my body wasn't ready for that. It needed the uncomfortable heaven. It needed for me to sit on my massage board and just breathe, tell myself it's okay, tell myself I'm not dying. Because when you wake up in that fight or flight triggered mode, you don't know if you're dying or not. Your brain is like going off. The amygdala is sending off the fire alarm saying, hey, help, there's a threat somewhere. And oftentimes there isn't an actual threat, but your brain doesn't know that. The body doesn't know that. It's doing what it needs to do to protect you, to keep you alive. So after a few hours, I'll admit, I realized, okay, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I've been sitting here doing nothing, this isn't actually helping, I know what I need. It's all about genuinely like pulling myself out of that feeling and going to give myself what I need. And I did. I got up, I did my massage board, I shook out the ickiness, some somatic releasing, I kind of just shook it all out, wiped it off the body, and I danced. And I danced to a really awesome song that fires me up. I think it's called like Soul Power, and it's on my story. And I vented about this and I was honest about this, because it's not about being perfect or fixing yourself or any of that. You're not broken. You're conditioned. Your nervous system does what it knows. So again, it happened to me this morning, and it happens. When you get triggered, your body's going to automatically jump to what it knows. Now, if you rewire your mind and your body, then eventually you'll naturally go to the things that you need, which if I'm not triggered, I'll naturally wake up and I will go to what I need. Even when I am triggered, I'll sit here and I'll catch myself touching my soft blanket or swaying or rocking, which is a natural coping mechanism. to help you regulate, to help ground you. So it's not always going to be perfect, and it's not always going to be every single day that you're going to feel amazing and in that uncomfortable hell, because it happens. You're human. I learned a lot in this moment, and I observe. I'm not judging. Why did I do this and whatever? Even if I knew the answer why, would that calm me down? Would the answer of why make me feel calm? No. What does? The breath, the softness, the slowing down, the just giving myself a chance to be. And that's why I'm so grateful for my business, because I get to set up my life to honor the days that I'm feeling a little icky in the morning. So you just have to understand the lies that you're believing in your mind, like, I'll be safe, if I can just control the outcome. If I can just sit here and doom scroll, I'll be okay. No, you'll be familiar, but I wasn't any more grounded from laying there on the couch. I mean, really, like, sit with yourself and tell yourself this control is the ultimate illusion here. You think you're doing what is making you safe, and that's okay. You can admit to your body, I feel like this is what I should do, and take a further step back and be like, okay, noted. I hear you. I'm validating you. I'm acknowledging you. But is this what you need? And then you get to lead with the heart, because the heart and the body is going to tell you a different answer than the head most of the time. Because again, the brain is not designed to keep you happy. It's here to keep you alive. If you are listening to the brain all the time, 24/7, you're probably really burnt out. You were probably absolutely exhausted. And that's okay, because that's your familiar hell. That's what you know. But you can step out of that. You can step into something else. Because truly, what you're costing yourself right here, right now, is your peace. And every day you avoid those triggers, you avoid getting uncomfortable, you are abandoning yourself, and you're sweeping what you need under a rug, which loses that sense of trust, loses that sense of identity, and loses that sense of intuition that you need. So I know I had a hard couple truth bombs there, but take this with a grain of salt. I hope you feel some relief to know that you're human. This happens to everybody, myself included, happened this morning. And there is a way to get out of this and to retrain your mind and your body to know, to purposely, consciously choose that heaven. Could I have sat there on the couch and continued to doom scroll? Absolutely. Was it uncomfortable for me to get up off the couch and underneath, the cozy blankets, and turn off the TV and really just ground myself so I could do this episode? Yes, it was uncomfortable. Absolutely. I wanted to just do nothing. In fact, I wanted to go back to bed. I wanted to shut all the blinds, black out the curtains, and go back to sleep. But I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because I had a great time dancing. I'm feeling better. And I get to chat with you, beautiful people, to inform you that you too are not stuck and not broken, and that you have the power to break these cycles. Okay? So let's tap into actually going into how to choose the uncomfortable heaven. It is called a heaven for a reason. It's not necessarily religious or anything. It's more like, what is your living hell? And that maybe you be burnt out, exhausted, people pleasing, and tired, and not your version of happy or successful or peaceful or balanced. That's okay. That is not good to know. Obviously, you don't want to live like that, but you want to get into this version of you that is the version you want, the heaven, the desire, the outcome, the ideal goal, the dream, the North Star, whatever you'd like to call it. So the ideal situation versus the one that you know that's familiar but not very good for you. So the first part to any of this is obviously naming your hell, being like, this is where I don't feel like it's working for me. Like me sitting on the couch. Could I have gone through and been like, wow, you literally have hundreds of followers to go through and to connect with today, which is incredible. Good problem to have. But could I have sat there on the couch and messaged all those people in that energy? Yes, absolutely. Would I have felt good doing that? No, because they're going to feel my energy in the DMs. It's an energy exchange. It's not just you pop in and you say hello and you make a quick sale. Like, no, I need to make a connection. And if I'm triggered and I'm feeling icky, I might not be at my best self to connect with those people. So get really clear. For me today, my familiar hell was sitting on the couch instead of doing my regulation. What your familiar hell in relationships could be, we argue and we don't come back and talk about it. We just kind of sweep it under the rug, or we may, connect sexually to fix things, if you will. But let me tell you, you can't fuck things into being better into your relationship. You have to actually own that hell. It's, hey, we need to talk. We need to actually like resolve these problems, because I'm not trying to fight you, my partner, but I am trying to fight this problem together so we can get through it, which is the uncomfortable heaven, which is sitting through those hard conversations with your loved ones. And this doesn't have to be with the love of your life. This could be with a friend, a family, a business partner, a coworker. But you gotta own it. You gotta write it down. You gotta name it, make it real. Because once it's out there, even if it's messy, you can sort through the mess and start to fix those things. Start to mend those things. I don't really love the word fix, but you know what I mean. So write it down. What am I really gaining from this pain? And if there's love involved, okay, stay, because that uncomfortableness is different. You can still feel that pain when your partner's telling you something honestly. But if it's not love, then it is a distorted sense of safety from the mind. The mind is trying to protect you in some way, and that's okay. We say, thanks, man, appreciate you. You're doing what you need to do, but I'm going to need you to ease up a little bit. I need you to step back because I'm in charge, the authentic self, the heart. I think the heart should always be in charge. The heart and the gut are usually on the same page, but they clash with the mind. So define your hell, right? Then we're going to define the heaven on your terms, truly. What does true safety feel like to me? What safety feels like to Gabby is going to be completely different from somebody else. They may be similar. Sometimes they may be the exact same. We don't know. You're a different person. I encourage you to find what works for you in your body. So sometimes it's a quiet mind. Like, that's really what I want. That safety for me feels like peace within. Sometimes it's a body that's not so tight and tense all the time, and it's just bracing for impact, because that's what it's doing. It's just saying there's a threat somewhere and I need to be ready. But you don't really need to be ready. Heaven isn't the absence of pain. It is the presence of a choice. Is I could choose to go to what I'm feeling pulled towards, which may not be very healthy for me, or I can choose to take a step back, ask my heart, ask my intuition, what do I really need? What feels safe for me? And follow that. So again, if your body is so tight all the time and you're like, ugh, I know it's uncomfortable, I don't know how to get there. Maybe it's stretching, maybe it's yoga, maybe your body's really tight all the time and you don't like to stretch because it's so stinking tight and it hurts. But it's a choice. Am I going to continue to stay tight and not, in pain? Or am I going to choose to go through some of that pain with love and loosen up because my body needs it? Sometimes when we're, growing and healing from trauma or any type of CPTSD or PTSD, your body locks up and it just does what it knows to protect it. And you have to remind it, hey, we can choose to feel something different. First, you have to acknowledge and validate it, though, because you can't just mindset your way into safety and being like, we're fine, it's fine, I'm fine. No, a little bullshit meter in your head's going to go, the fuck we are. That's so not true. We are not fine. But you have to also not let it go to that extreme. We're not also dying. We're uncomfortable. And it's okay. You can stay here in this discomfort, because remember, when you're falling off the cliff and you're like, there's nothing at the bottom, when really it's a safety net, on the way down, you're going to go, oh my God, why did I jump off that? No, 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 no. And with everything in you, it's going to wish you were back on the top of that cliff. But when you finally land in that safe space, you get to go, oh my goodness, I did it. And that's where the confidence and the inspiration and the connection and the motivation and all of the things come that we look for. So just know your body will fight you with everything it has, like a freaking kid not wanting to leave Chuck E. Cheese, like kicking and screaming and fighting. But you know that, you know what? When you choose this heaven, you have to tolerate that discomfort of the unknown, which is scary and painful and hard. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that it's easy. I'm so sick of seeing some people glamorize this process. It is painful and it's not easy, but it is worth it when you come out the other side and you're sitting in that uncomfortable heaven going, oh my God, this is what I wanted for myself. This is what I wanted. This is what I needed. And this is what I did. Like, yes, a little self high five. Okay, so the space between the hell and the heaven is not emptiness. It's not confusion. It's not procrastination. It's where you meet yourself. And it's underrated. It really is. We all, sometimes, myself included, I just said we all, many of us struggle with the all or nothing thinking. So we kind of feel like we have to pick one or the other. Myself included, am working on that. I'm seeing that gray middle and seeing that neutral middle, because we sit there and you breathe there. Oftentimes I hear, how do I fix it? How do I make it go away? How do I make myself feel better? And oh God, I wish I could just give them that thing to make it feel better. But unfortunately, the only way out is through. You sit there in that middle, in that space, and you just breathe. You let the anxiety be a sign to you that there might have been a threat, but we can bring that discomfort down and walk through that path, even if it's uncomfortable, because you are on the right path. And that anxiety doesn't always mean that it's bad. It just means that it's unknown. Okay. So you have to walk yourself through it, reparent that inner child who's going, no, 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 we've been here before and it didn't work out. Going, trust me, the authentic part who knows what we're doing. Even tap into your highest self if you're spiritual, the one who's already done it, the one who is absolutely crushing it right now, sitting there cheering you on, going, you're on the right path. So ask yourself, is this love? Is this true love that I'm giving myself? And I don't mean necessarily in a relationship. I'm talking like self-love. Is this something I'm lovingly doing to myself and my future and what I'm working towards? Or is this loyalty to my past? So again, with the drinking situation, I could choose to not drink, right? This person, I'm just using an example. Let's say, I don't know, Seth. I don't have a name. Whatever. This person chooses, do I sit here inside this discomfort right now and love myself through the discomfort, because it's going to be hard? Or am I loyal to the past self who does what they know and it's in toxic patterns, right? And I realize now that I said the name Seth, and I do have a friend named Seth. So Seth, if you watch this is not about you. I love you. I care about you. I was just thinking of a very like neutral name, like Seth or Alex or John or something. You know, I also have friends with those names too. So it didn't work out, but you get the point. It was just an example. But you have to really sit here and ask yourself, if it's the ladder that I'm working towards, I'm going to keep climbing. I absolutely have to, because you're not choosing this person or this situation every single time over and over and over again. You're going to realize, oh, this isn't working. You're over here choosing this like ghost of a version or a past or a person that you're clinging to, because that's not who you are anymore. If you're growing, you're changing. And so every person has the familiar hell. Every person has the uncomfortable heaven. This could be you wanting to communicate better. And in a way that you communicate is to shut down. We talk a lot about the attachment styles and communication styles and love languages. You could shut down and run away, or you could stay. You could have that uncomfortable conversation, because that's what matters. And you'd rather be uncomfortable with the person that you care about than just swiping it all under the rug and being like, yeah, I'm out. I'm going to go start with somebody else. Because you're going to meet those same problems with the same person. Like I said in the beginning, why do I keep meeting the same patterns with a different face when we're talking about relationships? Because you're choosing those things accidentally. So this can be with your business, fitness, health, money, relationships, love, like so many things. Everyone has that way that they've known that's no longer serving them, and the way that they want to do things. They know that they should do it that way, but they're still not doing it. And this is actually a big sign of emotional intelligence. So if you've got here, that's incredible. There's some people who are like, well, I only know what I know. I don't know anything else. Then you level up to my kind of people. And I'm not saying I don't work with all levels, but the ones I'm really passionate about helping are the ones who know the difference. Okay, so you've tapped into the familiar hell and the uncomfortable heaven now. Now you know what they both feel like, which is amazing, because now you can work to getting back into that uncomfortable heaven. The first time you ever do it, you run. Like I said, you fight, kick and scream, and like with everything you have, because the body thinks, well, that's death and I don't want to die. So you just have to remind yourself, is this love, or is this the loyalty of the me I'm trying to actively change? And it's not that you'll never go back into that person. And you can honor that person for even the coping mechanisms they had. For me, I used to be that person who drank a lot because I didn't know what else to do. I was like, well, I don't want to unalive myself, so I guess I'll just get really fucked up. And I did. And you know what? I survived and I lived. And it wasn't great and it hurt my body and I'm dealing with gastritis from it. But that girl is alive. She's here to this day, getting to show up for you now because I coped in an unhealthy way. So just know that the way that you're doing things does not mean that you're broken or that there's anything wrong with you. You're doing what you know, you're doing what you've been taught, you're doing what's been influenced around you. But you get to decide where you want to go from here. Okay? So for my cycle breakers, you're out there, I see you, I hear you. You're not watching this video or hearing this episode for no reason. This is alignment. This is here for a reason. So let's journal. Okay, I always like to leave you guys with some things to ponder on because if I reach out to you or you reach out to me because you screenshotted the episode and absolutely loved it, I'm going to ask you some of these questions because I'd love to hear your answer. Because I know when I went through this process, it was so difficult. I'm still going through this process. Like I said, this morning, I sat my ass on the couch and I did nothing but scroll because that was my familiar hell. So I'm actively working on bringing that out. And I think that happens maybe once or twice here and there. But sometimes it happens 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm like, what's going on with me? And I'm not judging. I'm just asking myself, what do you need? And sometimes it's just simply having bad habits really close near you. Like today, I texted my sister right away. And then I was on my phone. So it's like, that's why, literally, this is why I don't keep my phone near my bed. Because you just see it and you are so much more highly likely to grab that thing that's in your line of sight than you are if it's not in your line of sight. So you just kind of have to set yourself up for the success that you want to see in your environment. Okay. So, all right, let's get into the journal prompts here and I'll let you go. 1, where in my life am I confusing familiar with it's meant to be? And like really ponder these for a moment. What would I have to grieve if I walked away from this version of my hell, even though it's familiar? And what is one step I can take today towards the uncomfortable heaven? Remember, the pain is okay if it's love. Like you're going to the gym, you're going to run a marathon. Obviously, you're going to feel pain during that time. But if it's good for your body and that's the uncomfortable heaven you're going for, go for it. You got this. Okay? So write them down, ponder, think about it. If you want to discuss these journal prompts with me, you absolutely can inside Aligned and Unapologetic, my free school community. Because that's where we turn these patterns into real power. And we show up messy and we don't judge ourselves for it. That's the version of unapologetic is, you know what? Sometimes, most of the time, we learn these valuable lessons through the mess. So don't judge yourself. Just show up as you are. And if you're stuck in an old way, it's time to rewrite it, simply. So that's what I got for you guys today. If you loved this episode, or if you felt like I was calling you out on your bullshit in the best way possible, in the most lovingly way possible, good. Share this with somebody else who needs to hear it because this is the only way that this podcast grows. I don't have a fancy marketing team or anything. It's just all word of mouth. So if you feel like this touched your heart, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Feel free to leave a 5-star review, send a screenshot, tag me in it on Instagram so we can talk about what is that one familiar hell that you're ready to leave behind. Okay? So, all right. I will leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Be fearless, be free, and find what works for you, even if it's messy. And I'll see you in the community.